Star Fox is one of those tragic Nintendo series that started out as strong as you could possibly hope for, but never really found its footing beyond that. With most game developers, they just keep banging out sequels until it stops making money, but Nintendo just isn't that kind of company. Like I've said before, this works as much to their benefit as it does to their detriment because it led to Paper Mario Sticker Star, but it also gave us stuff like Pikmin and Breath of the Wild. That's the thing about experiments, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Most people trace Star Fox's decline back to Adventures, which oddly enough was a great video game in its own right, but certainly not what Star Fox fans were probably hoping for after blasting through Star Fox 64 for the 956th time. Star Fox Assault was pretty great, although it was a little bit wonky in certain moments. Then Command... Okay, I honestly really don't like this one, but at least it's creative. And then there's Star Fox Zero, which abandoned all the story developments past 64 and forced you to use the Wii U gamepad.
I can't believe they did this.
This was so ass that journalists and playtesters all said, "This is so ass," and they even tried to tell Miyamoto himself that this was a bum-ass idea and that it wasn't gonna work. But he kinda just dug his head in the sand and said, "I can't hear you, I'm Miyamoto, I made Donkey Kong, fuck you want a chicken nugget?" Alright, well he didn't say it like that, but it was clear that he thought people would play the game themselves and see the vision. They did not.
This is horrible.
That was about 10 years ago now, and ever since then, Star Fox kinda just ended. It's another one of those series where the fans were expected to step up to the plate. And in the last few years, they did. Star Fox EX was a great game. This was a massive upgrade to the original Super Nintendo game that added over 300 trillion new features, yeah, I counted, as well as performance enhancements and all kinds of unnecessary bonus stuff. And for a more recent example, Star Fox 64 was recently decompiled, which blows the door open for all kinds of things to happen in the future, like adding swear words to the game.
Lick your own balls, bitch!
Today, though, I want to talk about something else, something big, something I've had my eye on for a while. It's called Star Fox Event Horizon, and it's been in development since the Stone Age, and no, it doesn't say fuck like this one does, but it does say damn, so that's cool.
Damn straight.
This is a mod of Free Space 2. Everything I know about this game, I know because of Star Fox Event Horizon. Yeah, I've never heard of this game before this mod, but I've read that it's pretty good. In fact, the year it came out, GameSpot nominated it as the best game that nobody played. I think it's kinda poetic that this old space game that kinda flew under the radar is now the basis for the most high-profile fan game of a series that has been stuck in limbo for years. It's like fate, really. Star Fox Event Horizon can best be described as a huge, ambitious, and certainly overdue galactic-scale love letter to Star Fox and its fans. These developers are so dedicated that they actually paid some of the voice actors from the original games to bring these characters back to life. It even features Estelle Ellis, the original voice of Crystal, an arch-nemesis of every dyslexic person on Earth. By the way, I don't know if I remember this right, but I'm pretty sure that I read somewhere that the reason Crystal looks the way she does in Star Fox Adventures as compared to her original design in Dinosaur Planet is because Miyamoto himself made an executive decision that she should be really hot and pitched some concept art that looked kinda like this. Again, I don't know if that's true, but I'm choosing not to fact check it because it'd be really funny. Unfortunately, I didn't get far enough to meet her in the game because it kept crashing when trying to load Macbeth, which I don't know if I did something wrong to make that happen, but I can't find anything about this error message online. But what I did play so far, it's pretty exciting and hopeful stuff, albeit a little bit wonky in some areas. This game is still in development and is getting updated all the time, so this is one to keep an eye on. The first thing you'll notice about this game is not how similar it is to the existing Star Fox titles, but how dissimilar it is. For one thing, you have completely full range of movement. This isn't like regular Star Fox where your movement is restricted to an extent. You are flippity-floppity flip-a-flooping all over the place, which constitutes a steeper learning curve to get into. It makes sense, since you're in space, there's no such thing as up and down, really. Although I might recommend playing on lower difficulties until you get the hang of it. You also have a lot more weapons. The R-Wing was typically limited to lasers and bombs, so getting homing missiles and this beam cannon thing was a lot of fun. The second thing you'll notice is the production value. Free Space 2 is a game from 1999, but you wouldn't know it based on the character models, animations, and lighting in this mod. When I hear PC game from 1999, I think of, I don't know, Earthworm Jim 3D or something. It doesn't make me think graphics. This isn't photorealistic or anything, but in a number of areas, you could almost stand it next to Star Fox Zero, which is still the most recent game in the series. There are definitely areas where it shows its age, for sure, but it's perfectly acceptable, I think, because the spirit is still there. One thing I love is how animated the characters are when they show up over radio. You know, instead of just flapping their mouths, they're moving around, almost as though they're inside of a combat-ready spaceship in the middle of a war zone. This is a game that's heavy on fan service, which is clear even in the tutorial level where James McCloud is teaching Fox and the player at the same time how to pilot the R-Wing, just like a dad teaching his son how to drive, except without calling him a dumbass because he merged without looking. He has more dialogue in the tutorial than in the entirety of the actual series. You'll meet a lot of friends and enemies who you may recognize from the official games, but you also have characters like Farah, who I don't recognize, which either means she's an OC, or she's from one of Command's 9 different endings that I don't remember. Naturally, they had to give her a counterpart on the Star Wolf team, too. Just what I needed to see. I also appreciate how much the game seems to care about the story. There's build-up, there's mystery, there's intrigue. It's everything you could hope for. It's not just completely copy-pasted from the existing games, even though there are very obvious nods to them. The plot and how it fits into the official canon is a little bit funky. I think the best way to put it is that it feels almost like a self-contained reimagining of the original canon. It seems to start around the same time as Star Fox 64 and hit on a lot of the same notes, but it adds a lot more while embellishing what was already there with a lot more dialogue and character. I mean, obviously Crystal shows up at some point, so it's definitely taking a bunch of turns here and there. One thing I appreciate is that the new dialogue often has the same spirit as the old dialogue, like how characters will reference events that happened without the player's knowledge and let you pick up on the subtext and fill in the blanks yourself.
Can't wait to go back to Thosa after this is over.
Did you finally get a pardon from the government there?
Yeah, let's just say I got people on the inside.
Why was Falco in trouble with the government? Guess he made too many ROM hacks. In between every mission, you get an elaborate mission brief from General Pepper, followed up by commentary from your fellow squad mates. It adds a lot of flavor to the dialogue while also making it feel more immersive and more like you're really on a mission. It almost reminded me of GoldenEye of all things. It's really helpful too. Characters will recommend certain weapon loadouts to best handle the situation, but the game will happily let you ignore their advice and just die. As much as I love this game, I do think it's got a lot of stuff to iron out, but that's par for the course for fan projects, especially ones that are this ambitious. I'm pretty sure the version I'm playing is the latest version, but I'd like to apologize in advance if it turns out I'm wrong about that before I start complaining. But there are weird things that I assume are bugs, like when Slippy told me in the Meteo mission brief that he finished a prototype beam cannon, except when I went to the menu it wasn't there. So I had to restart the entire campaign to get it. One thing that bugs me is that some things take too long to do. The size and scope of the game is tremendous. You know, this is what Star Fox feels like in your head, going toe-to-toe with a massive galactic armada, and it elevates that feeling to a tremendous height. But what often happens is that you have to zoom halfway across the map for a while whenever something new happens. And also, I couldn't get my controller to work no matter what I did, so I had to use mouse and keyboard, which wasn't always so great. As far as I can tell, you can't open the options menu while pausing the game, so if you start the longest unskippable tutorial in history and there's a problem with the controls, you won't know until James McCloud lets you move and it turns out you actually can't move because something's wrong, and then you have to quit the mission, change the controls, and start all over again. And also, yeah, I can't find a way to skip a lot of the cutscenes, and I pressed every single key on the keyboard, so I did my due diligence. I think my biggest beef is that there are no checkpoints, or if there are, I don't know how they work. As far as I can tell, the game expects you to raw dog these 20-minute missions without fail, just straight up. It's definitely got some issues, but at the end of the day, it was still pretty exciting. The people behind this clearly have more love and respect for the lore and characters than Nintendo seems to, because they're actually using them for one thing, and it demonstrates a lot of neat ideas. It could use polish in some areas, but it's still a really cool thing to be able to play, and having watched some of the development videos in my free time, it seems like it's only gonna get better. So if you're a Star Fox fan, do yourself a favor and put this game on your radar. That's a wrap for today, but remember to check in tomorrow because... Actually, I really don't know how to describe tomorrow's game. It defies categorization, but if you spend enough time on the internet, you might understand about 30% of what's going on. In any case, stay tuned, and Merry Christmas, cousins!